Hey guys, welcome back. Today let's talk about your review settings. To access those, let's go to your profile, like so, update profile, and then on this review tab, right? So we have three main things. David already talked to you a little bit about the review modes, but now let's talk about these top three settings. So this difficulty slider adjusts the difficulty of the SRS algorithm, right? If you bring it up all the way to the top, the review spacing is going to be a little bit narrower, so you're going to see reviews more often, and it's going to be harder on you in terms of workload, right? However, if you drop it down like this, it's going to be harder in the sense that it's going to be harder to remember, but your workload is going to be easier because you don't have as much reviews to do, right? So it's about finding a little balance. I recommend just keeping it where it's at, unless you know what you're doing or if you have special needs, right? We also have the review cache size, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a moment, and the lesson batch size. So what is the cache size? This one right here, right? Well, let's go back to the reviews and check it out. So as you're doing reviews, we have what's known as cache, right? As you're doing them, it's filling up the cache. It's kind of like a bucket, right? As you fill up the cache, once it's full, it sends that data all the way to the servers. And this is what is used to update your SRS algorithm, right? The smaller your cache size, the smaller the bucket, the more often it's going to send the data to the servers, which means the more data you're going to use to send the data. Because of that, if you're on mobile plans, for example, or maybe you're in a remote area and you can't afford as much data, your bandwidth is low, you might want to update the cache to be bigger so you're spending less data on the transmission. However, if you, for example, refresh the page while that cache is being filled, the data will be lost. It's about finding a balance between a small bucket and a big bucket. We recommend just the normal standard 10. If you want a little bit more high performance, you can increase it. If you want more safety, right, without having to potentially redo reviews because of an error, we would recommend dropping the size down a little bit. But for most people, it's fine. You can just leave it how it is, right? Now, the next thing is the lesson batch size. When you're doing your lessons, right, you initially start with a 10 lesson batch size. And this is same thing with the bucket analogy, right? You initially have 10 lessons in your bucket. And once you do all of those lessons are still in your bucket. But as you do them in reviews, they're getting more and more learned, ideally, right? And then some items might get learned faster than others, and those ones will leave the bucket. So that's leaving more space for other reviews or items to take its place inside the bucket, the cache, as we call it, right? The bigger your bucket, the more items you'll be learning at once. So this is ideal if you want to learn items fast. So if you want to learn as much kanji as you want, you would bump this up, right? But if you want a lower workload, you can bump this down. And this will make sure that you learn the items in your batch before learning new items. So it's about finding a balance, just like the review cache thing, right? We recommend just keeping it at 10 for now, until you realize that you want to go faster or slower. But again, it's totally up to you. Anyways, thank you and see you next time.